This is one of the oldest hunters still living in homes, forests, deserts, cliffs, and cities around the world. It can hide behind picture frames, cling silently to ceilings, vanish into tree bark, or wait motionless beside a porch light while insects drift too close. It's called the gecko. At first glance, it looks like a small, harmless lizard. Lightweight, quiet, easy to ignore. Most people see one for a second and move on. That's a mistake, because this tiny predator carries abilities that still challenge modern science. Everyone knows geckos as the animals that run across walls and ceilings. Some people know them for the chirping sounds they make at night. But what most people don't realize is that geckos are also ancient survivors, with a lineage that stretches back roughly 100 million years. That means geckos were already around, while dinosaurs still dominated the Earth. Before mammoths crossed frozen plains, before saber-toothed cats hunted grasslands, before humans built cities. This animal was on Earth moving through ancient forests, and unlike many ancient animals, it never needed to become massive or terrifying to survive. It simply became smarter. But the longer you study them, the stranger they become. Take their eyes. Many geckos are nocturnal, meaning they hunt at night. To do that, they evolved enormous eyes compared to their body size. Their pupils often narrow into thin vertical slits during the day, then expand dramatically in darkness like camera shutters opening. Some species can detect color in moonlight conditions where humans would barely see shapes. In darkness that looks nearly black to us, a gecko may still be seeing detail. And then there's something even stranger. Many geckos don't have movable eyelids at all. Instead, they wear a transparent protective scale over the eye. To keep it clean and moist, they simply lick it with their tongue. No blinking, no tears, just tongue maintenance. That alone would make geckos unusual. But it gets stranger, because geckos can walk across glass. They can run upside down on ceilings. They can cling to polished walls. They can sprint vertically with absurd confidence. For years, people assumed geckos must use some kind of slime or natural glue. They do not. There is no sticky gel, no suction cups, no adhesive fluid. Instead, gecko feet are covered in millions of microscopic hair-like structures called setae. Each of those branches into even tinier tips called spatulae. When those structures come extremely close to a surface, weak molecular attractions called van der Waals forces begin to act. One contact point means almost nothing. Millions of them together can hold the animal in place. That means geckos stick without being sticky. They leave no residue behind. They don't glue themselves down. They simply use physics more efficiently than we do. And when it's time to move, they release each step by changing the angle of the toe. Scientists have spent decades trying to copy this system for reusable adhesives, robotics, and climbing technology. The gecko still does it better. Their feet are so powerful that many species only use a fraction of their grip while walking normally. They're not struggling to hold on, they're barely trying. But feet are only part of the gecko survival system. Many species are masters of camouflage. Some blend into bark so perfectly, they look carved from wood. Others resemble leaves, stone, sand, moss, or dried branches. A predator can stare directly at one and never realize it is there. And geckos have another ability many people never expect. Some species can actually change their color. While not as dramatic as a chameleon, they can lighten, darken, or shift their shade depending on temperature, light levels, stress, mood, or the surface around them. A gecko resting in shade may appear darker, then become lighter in brighter conditions or cooler temperatures. This helps with camouflage, allowing them to blend more effectively into bark, stone, leaves, or walls, while also helping regulate body heat. In some species, color changes can even play a role in communication during territorial disputes or mating. That means the gecko you saw at night may not even look the same by morning. The famous leaf-tailed geckos of Madagascar are some of the most extreme examples. Their flattened bodies, ragged edges, and leaf-like tails make them almost disappear among dead foliage. To insects nearby, geckos often seem to appear from nowhere. That's because many of them hunt through patience. A gecko can remain motionless for long stretches, waiting near a light source, branch, or tree trunk. Then, in a burst of speed, it strikes. Quick jaws, fast tongue, no warning. They do not need to chase prey across open ground like a cheetah. They let the world come to them. Unlike larger predators that rely on speed or strength, many geckos hunt through camouflage, patience, and sudden precision. In forests, deserts, rocky cliffs, and even around homes, they often position themselves on bark, stone, leaves, walls, or branches where their colors and patterns help them blend almost perfectly into the surface. Remaining completely motionless, they can become nearly invisible to both predators and prey. Insects such as moths, crickets, beetles, termites, flies, spiders, and cockroaches may crawl or land only inches away without realizing danger is beside them. Then, in a sudden burst of speed, the gecko lunges forward and seizes its prey in seconds. Some larger species are even capable of hunting smaller lizards, hatchlings, and tiny rodents. By turning the environment itself into cover, geckos survive not by chasing the world, but by letting the world come close enough to catch. And geckos are not just wall climbers, they are surprisingly athletic. They leap branch to branch. They land hard and keep moving. They use their tails as stabilizers when climbing or turning. If they fall, some species can twist their bodies in midair and right themselves with incredible speed. That tail is more than decoration. It helps with balance, steering, and movement. In some species, it also stores energy reserves, but if danger arrives, the tail becomes expendable. Many geckos can detach their tails on purpose when grabbed by a predator. The dropped tail continues thrashing violently, distracting the attacker while the gecko escapes. Later, a new tail often grows back. Not perfectly, but survival rarely requires perfection. It only requires enough. This ability has saved countless geckos over millions of years, and that brings us back to their age. 100 million years is not a fun trivia fact, it is evidence of extraordinary success. Geckos survived while giant reptiles vanished. They lived through climate shifts, changing forests, rising mammals, expanding birds, and entire ecosystems collapsing. They lasted because they were never locked into one strategy. They can climb, they can hide, they can see in darkness, they can vocalize, they can regrow what was lost. They can live in jungles, deserts, islands, and cities. That kind of flexibility is difficult to erase. Today, geckos live across much of the world. Some stay in rainforests, some hide in desert rock cracks. Others live beside humans, quietly feeding on insects around porch lights and ceilings. You may have one living just a few feet away right now and never know it. That is part of what makes geckos so effective. They do not dominate with noise or size. They survive through precision. Modern culture tends to admire obvious power, speed, strength, aggression, scale. The gecko represents another kind of power entirely: engineering, timing, stealth, adaptation. A lion announces itself. A gecko simply appears where it should not be. And maybe that is why they've lasted so long. The world kept changing. The gecko changed just enough. So the next time you see one frozen on glass or staring from a ceiling corner, remember what you are looking at. Not just a tiny lizard, but an ancient survivor whose kind has endured since the age of dinosaurs. A creature carrying advanced optics in its eyes, microscopic technology in its feet, camouflage across its skin, and millions of years of refinement in every movement. While larger, louder animals came and went, the gecko stayed.